way we can ensure fairness for everyone. It's a large crowd today. So thank you. Go ahead.
All right, thank you very much. So let's go ahead and begin here on the panelist side. So I see that that Mike Mullins has his hand up. Mike, would you like to speak, please?
Yeah, I have an odd comment in a way. It's come to my attention that proposal 4121 is taken verbatim from the University of South Florida's Faculty Senate statement. It is not a template. It is a statement that they have published in the open, and so we should either acknowledge the fact that we've taken their statement verbatim, and perhaps we should ask them for permission to use their statement. Just as a matter, we are academic institutions, so we should follow appropriate academic honesty protocol. So I think we should follow up on that to make sure that we are doing it properly.
Yeah, and we have that internally as a document that we can easily cite that, as we did use many of their statements because they had it well written and better than we could. I did reach out to an author and I did not receive any response, but we will most definitely reach out more. Yep, we did that beforehand. Well, I did that beforehand, so absolutely.
Yeah, we should put that in writing that this is based upon what they've done. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we have it in writing here, but we can add that to the
add it to the resolution, please.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, that's definitely an oversight that can be quickly corrected and will be done. Okay, let me move over to the attendee side, and I've got Brian here. I don't have a last name, but Brian?
Yes. If a college tries to address its own supposed systemic racism, how would said college know when it's fixed, and who would decide what would that standard be? And then as I listened to the research that was given, I wondered, what can you give a basis next time of, what was the standard to prove or disprove the assumptions of that research? Was it a non-biased research? Was it a blind study? What was the basis of that? Because we all have bias, and if we try to support or prove or disprove an assumption, and we're bent on our bias, our research has a tendency to go towards what our bias is. So could you give some supporting evidence to that?
We will be publishing the letter publicly, and we're right now in the process of just making sure that it's accessible by all readers. That's the only reason why you don't have it currently. And in that, you can go as an independent person and do your own personal research, and the standards will be linked, as we have cited throughout it, all of these studies that we have utilized. And so I would strongly encourage you to do your own research as well. And I think, to your point of how will we know when we've arrived, I think that is for our institution to continually benchmark, and that is through a host of different ways. I'd also encourage you to do some research of other institutions that have been doing this work or that have done research regarding this, as everything that we have stated has been anchored in documented research across disciplines. This is a labor that we have done electively to provide this letter to you this evening, so anchored and deeply steeped in research, but it is everyone's individual responsibility to educate yourself, and that's what I would say in my response.
Okay, well, thank you, Brian, and thank you, Amy. Harley, jumping back to the panelist side.
Hello, my name is Harley Merkai. I'm I'm the treasurer for the undergraduate student government, and I'd just like to read a small letter in support from the undergraduate student government. So the undergraduate student government general body had voted in abject support of the Michigan Technological University Senate regarding Resolution 4121 and actions thereof, recognizing and taking action against hate speech, white supremacy, and ethnically and racially motivated intolerance that affects our underrepresented faculty, staff, and students is crucial for Michigan Tech to continue to be a leader in higher education. The undergraduate student government stands behind the procedures of the Senate and the final vote on Resolution 4121, which was passed nearly unanimously in December 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, Harley. Eric Lee.
Yes, I would like to cede my time to Eric Killinan and or Randy McClellan, if that's possible.
Yes, I guess we can do that. I see Randy is already down here on the list. I don't know if Eric is, but just trying to see if I can see his name. I guess Eric, if you're here, if you'd like to speak at this point.
I added Randy. I couldn't find Eric.
Okay.
I believe I see his name. Give me a hot second.
Okay, so let's go ahead and I'll just recognize Randy's name is
His
now.
has dropped out just for he's no longer. Oh, there he is. Sorry. Okay, allowed to talk, and should be up, ready to go. Okay.
So
Please,
Eric,
both of you are
are
on
you with
at
us?
the same time. Pardon me, Mr. McClellan and Mr. Killinan. Both of you are permitted to talk on the same time. So if maybe you could decide which one of you wants to go first, it would just be easier for the feedback and for the recording. Thank you.
Okay, I'll go first. Can you hear me?
Randy, why don't I take it first? Go.
I just want to address the issue, the resolution stream, the issue of the parade on September 27th. Your own presentation of the approximately 11 students' picture in your presentation, not one was term versus color. You referred to the students as protesters. This is deliberate misinformation, as there was no test to count. One of the complaints about the Confederate being offensive and threatening. Then you should remove the communist China, Iranian, Syrian flags from the Parade of Nations, as I find them very threatening. Your student protesters had a rainbow flag. I find that offensive. Threats and offense, one-way street only. And the complaint with the honking horns of cars and trucks turned illegal. But every organized community parade has police cars and fire trucks with sirens blaring and lights flashing, which is illegal if not responding to a call. So that issue doesn't wash. I admit that cold offensive language isn't necessary. The students could have chosen not to be there. They weren't held against their will. Reports participants in the parade did the defensive marks, which you refer to as banter about the sauce, were directed participants as well. That did not find way into your report. To bring up the issue of Calzetta and the rally at the courthouse, those not wearing masks and the police not forced it.
Pardon me, Mr.
Universities,
Mr. McClellan, but the signal is very interrupted. And so I realize state are important. If you, I don't know if you're speaking on the phone or if you're speaking, but if take a second and just give us a test word, and then we can give you another minute and a half. I apologize. It's just really hard to hear. It's cutting out. And I don't know which one is speaking, so I apologize if I'm not addressing the correct person. Thank you.
So Randy, would you like to try again then, please? Continue.
where do I start?
I'm sorry you're interrupted, but it was breaking up and it was very difficult to hear. Your last thought
Okay,
there, I
I'll
guess,
just
please.
hear yeah. To bring up the issue of Cat Rosetta and the rally at courthouse, and those not wearing masks and the police not enforcing it. Sadly, the university isn't educating the students on a civil matter and a criminal matter. Police do not respond to civil matters. Point of clarification, the mask mandate is just that, a mandate, not law. Only the state legislature can pass law. Those who brought these issues up for not calling the police are just confusing the issue. Speaking of confusing issues, to bring up the incident January 6th at the nation's capital is somewhat related, just stretches that confusion. Your survey included faculty weren't working on a Sunday. How are they affected other than hearing about it secondhand or just being opposed politically? As a publicly, as a taxpayer-funded university, to insult the community outside of MTU and paint them with the brush of racism, xenophobia, and white supremacist or any label is a disgrace. According to your own website, quote, the university is embraced by the community. Town-down dynamic is one of cooperation and mutual support. Athletic events are well attended by local residents who are not affiliated with the university, and pride in Michigan is regularly on display, end quote. Never connect any of the participants to the discussion table is to diminish the importance of cooperation with the community as a whole. This leads the community to feel as if MTU has an agenda to regulate free speech and the right to assemble peacefully. Had your students not the community's right to show patriotism, support for our country and our president, this may not have cost countless hours spent promoting an agenda. To support the students' right to protest and to confront something is surprising. Confrontation doesn't have to be physical, but it is confrontation nonetheless. Last on this issue, had the parade been staged elsewhere, the result could have been the same, as everything else happened in US 41, an interstate highway. In fact, a few weeks later, a similar parade went through campus. This one was 5 miles long, and the traffic light was not blinking yellow. Student protesters were present, and as traffic stopped, it's amazing that no confrontations, threats, perceived could have escalated into violence, as reported or is being talked about in the ACT report. The only issue MTU should be addressing as to the event on September 27th is the use of the parking lot at the Rosé Center. MTU should stick to teaching knowledge, not politics. And now I'd like to address the girls' letter.
Vice President Glitter.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're about out of time here.
Okay.
Can we go ahead and recognize Eric Killunen, please? Eric, are you with us? You appear to be muted, Eric.
I've unmuted. I'm trying to unmute Eric.
Okay.
But Mr. Killen.
You can't force them to unmute. You can just ask.
There we go.
There you go. Thank you.
Does that
Eric?
work?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right. First off, thank you for recognizing me, Sam. I put together a lot of work and I actually shared it with the subcommittee. And right now, to realize I had 3 minutes of time so I've just kind of adjusted that. When I see individuals in power, in particular in situational power, such as professors and faculty at universities where you have students listening to you, intentionally lie or bend the truth or otherwise modify events to fit a narrative, it really needs to be addressed. This is had, and so I would really like to just ask to have time to present in 2 weeks and give me a window where I can actually formulate thoughts to fit in the time that would be allotted. It's somewhat like the group of polished presenters came out earlier with their arguments. But that said, I grew up in this area. My parents ran Northwood Sporting Goods store from 1973 to 1986. My parents fed Chinese, Nigerians, Asian Indians, Finns, and many friends and families. My grandfather with a second grade education came from Finland. He became known as the father of the tool and die welding industry. My father graduated out of Cass Tech, an integrated school in Detroit. He never once condemned anyone based on race. In fact, he loved talking to them, to learn about their culture, and often brought them home to share it. For this group of senators who are very polished to present the data, perhaps it would help to have good children. Perhaps it would help to have a little bit of humility to realize that not everything fits in your categories because you want everybody to be STEM. Humans are individuals. They are not numbers. They are not people that fit neatly into a pie chart. Artists are artists. Engineers are engineers, and whether you like it or not, I can tell you after having 10 children that they seem to come pre-programmed in a lot of ways. As far as being racist or slavery, I would just like to take time back a little bit further and think about the Jewish people who were enslaved in Egypt. So possibly we could help them out as well. And I don't mean to put down anybody, but does anybody in this Senate have enough sense of history to realize that many Black Africans captured other Black Africans, which were then sold to the slave traders? This is history. Please consider that many women simply do not enjoy the STEM subjects. As much as we want to take these people and turn them into numbers and make everything equitable, I say embrace the diversity. So with that, I'm going to request that the Senate give me 15 minutes or whatever time they can for
Okay.
2 weeks so I can prepare a formal presentation. I would adjourn today.
Okay, thank you, Eric.
Okay.
Let me jump back over to the panelist side here. I see that Steve Knudstrup has his hand up. Steve.
A brief statement. I'd like to cede the rest of my time to Pani in a second, but systemic racism exists in the world, in the United States, in Michigan, and at Michigan Tech. A white heterosexual man may never experience discrimination in any real way, but that does not make systemic discrimination any less real. I've never personally experienced the state of California, but as an educated person who believes in the statistics and the experiences of others, I know it exists. Anti-racism is not a partisan or political issue, but a humanity issue, one that we should all embrace. I personally denounce both letters shared as hatefully divisive, based as they are on falsehoods, media propaganda, and broad generalizations. I'd like to see the rest of my time to Pani Hatsave.
I just want to mention this very quickly, that coming on here on the University Senate, where there are many Iranians, and compare my flag of my nation, we have over 80 students and a lot of faculties who are doing great things for this campus. Comparing my flag to Confederate battle flag is just not right. I know that Sam mentioned that we are not debating here, but coming on here and saying that with me sitting here, no, just no. I do not accept that. My flag is not a threat. I'm an Iranian, I do good things here. Confederate flag is a racist flag. There is a difference. You do not do that. Thank you.
Sam?
I believe Anna Brown is next.
Oh, I'm sorry. Again, I was on mute. I just want to thank Steve and Pani, and recognize Anna Brown. Sorry.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Can you speak up a little, please, Anna?
Yes, I can do that. My name is Anna Brown, and I am a fifth-year undergraduate student here at Michigan Tech. And I just want to say that after reading the 2 letters from Michigan Tech faculty members and seeing the overall response as a student from a underrepresented minority here at Michigan Tech, I felt fairly unsafe in my department, in my field, as a student here. But seeing the overall Senate's reaction to these letters, seeing the Senate continue to support underrepresented minorities and support equity and support diversity and inclusion, it definitely has made me feel safer as a student here. And I just want to say thank you for all of the work you all are doing to make this a better place for everyone at Michigan Tech.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Jeff Burrow. Jeff? It appears that you may be muted, Jeff.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Jeff Burrell. Just because of the response to the letter that I wrote, I have to start out with a quick statement. I am not a racist. I'm not a white supremacist. I treat people as individuals and not as members of a group. By the way, I also support free speech and would welcome any constructive dialogue on the ideas that I presented, which the only thing I've heard is that they're, during this meeting, is that they're wrong. Nobody's actually debated any of the ideas, but this constructive dialogue has not happened. Instead, I've been personally attacked and for daring to express opinion that is not politically correct. A large number of people have responded that they dare not express their views if they're conservative. And I do want to point out to the Senate that the Senate has a serious problem, because if you want diversity, what is happening in the Senate now is stifling all conservative voices because of, because basically the dean pointed out, or the dean agreed with me, that I have no future in administration at Michigan Tech because I expressed an opinion. Okay, so by the way, the Senate resolution rightly condemns hate speech. That condemnation is the title, but I interpret parts of the resolution as hate speech against white people and against local people. Many local people have sent me things saying they agree, so you should be aware of that. And I'll just quote one: the ivory tower, having the ivory tower re-educate the proles is offensive. So your comment that you have to re-educate the local people, they found very offensive. Now, one other point, I support diversity. I think the more engineers we wind up with, the better off we are. And I'd love to have all kinds of engineers, because in my opinion, engineers are people that tend to improve the world. But I would like to encourage diversity through encouragement and opportunity and safe spaces. We don't want anybody to feel unwelcome or anything, but I do not condone supporting diversity through discrimination. I do have to also mention that I value all of my colleagues, and of all colors and genders, and I regret that some of them have taken what I've said to indicate that I think they don't belong. That's not true. I, again, take everybody as individual, and I know everybody that I work with, I think, deserves to be there, and I think we have very good people. By the way, note also that, as in today, I've been told that I don't belong there because of white privilege is the only reason I got my job. That's the same thing. And so I would like to see that type of comments ended.
Okay,
By the
Dr.
way,
Burrow, your time has run out.
oh, can I just get one more minute? I didn't get a chance to address any of the things.
Seconds. Let me do it officially like this, Dr. Burrow. I move to give Dr. Burrow an extra 60 seconds.
As a colleague, I second that.
Jeff, please take another 60 seconds.
By the way, education is good, and I've seen the studies. People are talking about the studies. I've done the diversity literacy training. But what happens is I've never seen these things mentioned in the studies: the Step Up program, women in engineering, women-only scholarships, the Women's Center, hiring and promotion discrimination, etc. So I can't take those studies that you're presenting to me as seriously unless you present both sides, and there is both sides to that. And as long as we continue to present propaganda instead of a truly balanced thing, the people that write those things have agendas. Okay, so I will leave it at that. Thank you for your time, and again, I'm happy to debate people on. I don't know where is the balance, but what's going on now is not balance. Thank you for the extra minute.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Sorry, let me jump over here to the panelists.
Jason's next.
Yes, Jason Gregerson.
Hello, everyone. This is Jason Gregerson from the Department of Mathematical Sciences. So as a senator of that department, I reached out to my constituencies and tried to keep them up to date with what is going on. And I let them know that if anybody had concerns or things they wanted me to share, that I'd be willing to share them on their behalf. And so I did receive one letter that I would like to read on behalf of one of my constituents. It says, I am bothered by the divisiveness that has plagued our country and has seeped into our own university. The passage of Resolution 4121 and the response by Dr. Jeffrey Burrell has revealed how deep the divide has become. I believe the intent of Resolution 4121 was to point out that racism still exists today in our society, and it even exists here in our community at Michigan Tech. However, the aggressive tone of Resolution 4121 gave me the impression that a large majority of the local community is made up of white supremacists. This is a mischaracterization of our community, and as a local white woman, I feel targeted by the resolution. Michigan Tech strives to be inclusive. We want our environment to be welcoming and inclusive to everyone. It is even in the strategic plan. We inspire an engagement, so we quote, we inspire an engaged community that actively seeks improvement through acceptance and understanding, end quote. However, I currently do not feel welcome to share my opinions at Michigan Tech, nor do I feel I would be accepted or understood if I did try to articulate them. This is the climate at Michigan Tech now. Resolution 4121 states the following. Resolve, the University Senate of Michigan Technological University asserts that no student should be able to earn an undergraduate degree from Michigan Technological University without having a sound education concerning the historical and current manifestations and operations of anti-Blackness and systematic racism in American culture. While this goal is admirable, it raises many questions in my mind. How will such an education be provided? Are we going to develop a required course? Can such a course be taught without projecting one's own worldview on a student? Can such a course be taught without giving students the impression that one political view is morally right and the other is wrong? As members of the Michigan Tech community, we can all agree on the importance of valuing each other we come into contact with as a unique individual. We do not need to take sides politically in order to achieve this goal. It's time we focus on doing what we're hired to do, teach our classes, and work on research. There are plenty of ways to become political. University need not be one of them. So that was a letter from one of my constituents that I wanted to share. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Decker.
Claire Decker.
Hi. So I'm actually here speaking on behalf of the Panhellenic Council, which is the governing body for all sororities on campus. So I've made a letter that I'll read now. As a women's organization on campus that welcomes all different types of women from all different backgrounds, it is our responsibility to speak out on our experiences. While I personally cannot speak on racial discrimination that the Black, Indigenous, people of color experience at Tech, I can say that the Panhellenic community would like to stand behind all Black, Indigenous, people of color students and offer our support for any messages they have to share. Tonight, I would like to share the events of sexism that sorority women have faced while at Tech. I'd like to take this time to provide a warning on the content I'll be discussing. I'll be discussing sexism and sexual assault. I gathered these experiences through an anonymous form sent to the Panhellenic community. They could also share it with their alumni to allow for more women to speak on their experiences in the workplace as well as Tech. In total, there were 33 responses to my form. Of them, 10 were students and 23 were alumni. Some common themes were sexism from peers. To speak from my own experience in that case, I struggled to have the respect of my group mates in classes, regardless of how much farther ahead I was on the assignment. I've even had male TAs tell me I was incorrect in my answers and then read off my paper to explain the answer to me. Based on my responses, this is common among women at Tech. One response even mentioned that her male group mates treated her so badly that her professor helped her file a Title IX report. No student should be made to feel so useless in their group that it affects their mental and emotional health. Well, that woman had a professor who helped her through and supported her. Another submission shared how her professor told her entire class there is no place for women in engineering. This is a common theme in responses, as 16 of 33 included statements about how male professors discriminated against their female students by either direct statements or actively working against them. Another response stated how her Calculus 1 professor told her to change her major from chemical engineering and that she wasn't cut out to be an engineer. She's now working on her PhD in chemical engineering. Some responses detailed how small statements also contribute to sexism, such as a professor only referring to supervisors with male pronouns instead of gender-neutral pronouns. It's the small acts that can really make women feel undervalued, which is why training for faculty and staff in microaggressions would be beneficial to all. Along with those situations, one response stated, "I have been sexually assaulted twice and was told by a male therapist at MTU, what did you expect with a 3-to-1 ratio?" A responder also detailed her experience with stalking. She states, "Even though the young man was convicted of stalking and harassing in a court of law, Michigan Tech did nothing to protect me or take my experience with that man into consideration, and rather pushed it under the rug and basically told me to deal with it. Even though this man tried to physically attack me in a group of people, harassed me and threatened me and several other strangers to do the same, the university would have kept it a secret and not deal with it than take my feelings and safety into consideration. More concerned with this young man to his professors." This seems common, as 10 responses talked about sexual harassment or assault by male students at Tech or co-workers doing their internship or jobs. Women will continue to experience harassment if universities—
Hi, I'm sorry, but your 3 minutes is expired.
Motion to extend time.
I wish to extend her time.
Okay.
I'll second the motion. Can we have a 45, 60 seconds? Is that?
Yeah, Claire, why don't you go ahead and finish, please?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Women will continue to experience harassment if universities allow for students to act in detrimental ways to their peers. In all honesty, I've had many conversations with women about experiences they've brushed off as normal since they haven't been treated with the respect they deserve. The place for a woman to be taught her value as a coworker or engineer is at Michigan Tech. That is why it is so important to have a resolution that demands the administration immediately and publicly denounce white supremacy, anti-Blackness, systematic racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, ableism, fatophobia, and other oppressive and intolerant behaviors and actions. Systematic discrimination is not something you experience because people are offering opportunities to those who would otherwise struggle getting them because of their race or gender identity. Systematic discrimination comes from a long history of oppression that shows itself in ways today. I shouldn't have been afraid to return to Houghton because men in the Houghton community threatened to rape my sisters. Your freedom of speech does not protect your right to threaten to commit a felony. These are real experiences from women at Tech. These are the very real ways that women are discriminated against and harassed at Tech. And these are the very real ways of how this university has failed us. And remember, these responses are all from sorority women. I can't begin to imagine how women who do not have the same support system as sorority women have can manage these situations. To dismiss these experiences is ignorant and a threat to the safety of all female identifying students. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire.
Nathan.
Nathan Ford. Yes, Nathan.
Hi, so the executive board of GSG, we prepared a statement, but instead of reading it, I would like to cede my time to Wesley McGowan, if that's okay.
Sure, Wesley.
Hi, my name is Wesley McGowan. I'm working on my PhD right now. I have been in Michigan Tech for 10 years now. I am a Black male here at Tech. Mind you, I should not have to debate my experience with anybody else because it's my experience. You cannot tell me that I haven't experienced something. Mind you, let's name some few. In world cultures, my teacher played derogatory videos of African-American people with big noses, big lips. Should not be playing that to students. Secondly, I should not just be walking downtown with a truck with a big Confederate flag coming through and saying, hey, nigger, nigga, and all this other stuff at me using the N-word. These are experiences. I should not just be in Fisher Hall minding my own business and a janitor approach me acting like I broke into this building. These are experiences on this campus. I should not be walking on campus and be called the N-word while I'm on this campus. So don't just assume that my experiences doesn't mean nothing because you haven't seen it. Just because you haven't. You are a white male in this white climate. I am a Black student here. I have my experiences and I have my discriminations against everybody else. And also people who like to think that, oh, there go a group of Black students, we are gang. See, another thing. Or people just randomly coming up and sticking their hand in my hair because they talking about some, oh, this looks nice. Microaggressions. So don't talk about my experiences on this campus and there's no racism on this campus because I've been here for 10 years. I have seen it. And also, unlike my other fellow student that says they feel safe on this campus, I, for one, do not feel safe on this campus. I do not feel safe in the community because anything can pop off. And this university has not sit up here and said that they stand and back me whatsoever. So do not come to me thinking that, oh, I have it all rosy gold here and you thinking I'm just only here because of my color of my skin. No, I work hard to be here. I have a bachelor's degree from here, 2 masters, and working on my PhD. So when I talk about my experience here, they are real. And the fact of the matter that Michigan Techs love to sweep everything under the rug, even when I go complain about things and I have fellow students complain about things and it just gets swept under the rug and no actions ever taken. Yes, I am pissed now. Yes, I want to see action from this Dungan board. Yes, I want to see action from the president. I want to see them say they don't condone white supremacy. They stand behind they people of color on this campus. I want to see that. And furthermore, yes, this university has strived tremendously when it comes down to the LGBTQIA community. Thank you for that. But as far as people of color on this campus, they are lacking. They're lacking. I do not feel support from no level of this university. And the fact that y'all do not establish and want to complain about a letter, a proposal that says, oh, we just condemning this. For me, for you to speak up and say that, oh, this is a problem, you find issues with it, just states to me that the training that you supposedly have do not have, because it did not sink in, because you do not know my experiences. So don't come to me talking about I need to debate my experience. So what you gonna tell me? It didn't happen. Oh no, they didn't mean it in that way. Oh no, oh no, 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 no,
Hey,
no, no.
I'm sorry,
No,
but
this is my experience. Thank you
yeah.
for the time.
Thank you,
That's
Wesley.
all.
Thank you. Jennifer Rachels. Jennifer, I think you may be muted.
While Jennifer accesses their microphone,
Yeah, we can move down to, I'm sorry.
Already, please recognize that we will attempt to get to you within the time allotted and after every individual has spoken in order. I know that there's some people who would like to speak again and they're not being ignored, but we do have a large line of people waiting.
So while we're waiting for Jennifer here, why don't we go ahead and Karsten Kuhlheim?
Let me ask to unmute her.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. My name is Carsten Kuhlheim. I'm an associate professor at the College of Forest Resources and Environmental Science. Yesterday, the College of Forest Resources and Environmental Sciences Diversity Committee sent a letter to the Senate, which we copied to President Kubek, Provost Hantun, Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion Gersi, and our Dean and Restorer. So this was put together by the Diversity Committee, which is myself, Tara Ball, Val Gagnon, Kathy Halverson, David Fleshpoler, Matt Kelly, and Chris Webster. We titled that letter Evidence versus Anecdote, and I would like to read that letter. We, the College of Forest Resources and Environmental Science Diversity Committee, unanimously condemn the viewpoints and content offered in the January 21, 2021 open letter to the Senate in response to Senate Resolution 4121. The claims made in the letter are not supported by existing data and do not reflect the experiences and values of the member of this committee. Foundational values of modern society are based on core principles of diversity, equity, and fairness. As we strive to live up to these principles, we acknowledge the biases that exist against women, members of the LGBTQI community, and people of color. These biases are borne out by empirical data, which serves as a reminder that there is still much work to be done. The College of Forest Resources and Environmental Science and Michigan Technological University have taken positive steps that show a commitment to creating a community that celebrates diversity and seeks to ensure equality, equity, and fairness. For example, creating the position of Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion and hiring Dr. Wayne Gersi to that position is a step forward. And we as a committee welcome Dr. Gersi and look forward to working with him closely and his group. In addition, the requirement that all members of a search committee for faculty must complete the diversity literacy training helps to identify and guard against potential bias in the hiring process. We're happy that the Michigan Tech Senate took seriously and reacted quickly to concerns regarding a Trump rally that started on our campus grounds last year. We support the students who voiced their concerns and shared their stories following that event and pledge to work as advocates on their behalf. We strongly support resolutions such as 4121 being considered by the Senate. More and more advocates for fairness and inclusion are gathering across campus, including the recently formed Advanced Initiative, the Standing Diversity Committees, and Women in Natural Science, Women in Natural Resources Group. We acknowledge that there is much more work ahead to reach diverse, equitable, and fair campus and community environment, but we're making progress and we must continue with our efforts. As a committee striving to promote diversity in the Michigan Tech University environment, we urge the Senate to provide a strong response to the letter for our students and alumni to show that this is not who we are or what we want to be. We see this as a critical factor in reducing the harm done to the university's reputation and ability to recruit and retain students, staff, and faculty from diverse backgrounds. Signed, the CFRES Diversity Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Karsten. Jennifer?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can now. Please go ahead.
Okay, I'm reading a letter that I've shared with the graduate student government. It refers to an action I'll be requesting for them to take with the administration regarding a possible way to address community harm caused by white supremacy. So I thought it would be appropriate to share it here as well. In September 2019, my synagogue was vandalized by a group of people we later learned were part of a national conspiracy of white supremacist violence and intimidation. The national leader was arrested, but the local perpetrators were not. And this occurred in the context of an ongoing and unaddressed recruitment effort by a white supremacist group called the Patriot Front that is putting stickers and flyers all over campus and in the neighborhoods all over Hancock and Houghton. And in the meantime, my own colleagues have had varying levels of problems on campus and in the wider community that can be traced to white supremacy. These incidents include an unfounded detention by law enforcement where my colleague was put face down on the concrete in front of his children for a still unexplained rear light malfunction on his vehicle. And racial slurs and physical threats that I heard myself were shouted at students by inebriated people from the large political event that was hosted in our own parking lot on campus. Regarding the vandalizing of my synagogue, the faculty and staff senate and administration provided some separate supportive statements. But almost directly after the vandalization happened, starting in December 2019 and culminating in early spring of last year, it became clear that the graduate school at Tech was advising a complete elimination of funding for master's students. I did what I could to stop that. After enacting that policy, the only funded positions for master's students would be work on grants or hourly work on campus with only a month-to-month commitment. And this funding was removed for arcane reasons that were never satisfactorily addressed, especially by GSG. An independent group from 4 different departments of graduate students met. It became clear during our meeting that many of us felt that this funding was crucial for minority and underrepresented students. And the consensus of our group was that these funds for master students would be a major source of support for first-gen students and for marginalized groups like BIPOC and LGBTQ folks, women in STEM. And we saw the removal of that support as a direct hit to the hopes of those students. Graduate program funding in general enables advanced degrees for students from marginalized groups where economic processes and financial systems are part of the discrimination systems that they face. But specifically though, funding for a TA line, which is the funding that was removed, allows for a student to avoid being forced to work with a faculty member that is widely known to be discriminatory. And it also relieves pressure related to reporting discrimination because they don't fear to lose their livelihood and their access to education. So we thought that was important. That was our consensus. After our meeting, we called on GSG to advocate for the funding because it was important. And we brought up the idea to the university that they should track recruitment and retention of underrepresented students before and after this funding decision. All of these concerns were expressed in multiple official venues by multiple people. And eventually, it just seemed to be ignored. When George Floyd was murdered this summer, these local issues became—
I'm sorry, your 3 minutes is up. I'm sorry.
I request an extra 20 seconds, please, sir.
Okay, 20 seconds.
Okay. When George Floyd was murdered this summer, it became clear that these local problems were really connected to larger national issues and that people that had looked away before really couldn't anymore. I'd like to propose an organizing principle for graduate students that the GSG join with other graduate students that work hard to restore master's students funding to the previous line, not 4 or 5 people, but dozens, 100 people maybe, master's students, but make it directed towards underrepresented people.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Angie Carter.
Hi there, thank you everybody. My name is Angie Carter. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Social Sciences. Thank you to the committee for promoting and facilitating equity and understanding for their excellent report earlier. And also so much to Claire Decker, Wesley McGowan, and Jennifer Rachels for their bravery in sharing their testimony tonight. I'm here to affirm my full support for the Senate Resolution 4121 and for my colleagues and the students doing this important and overdue work on campus to create a more inclusive community. We need more than statements, however. The institutional betrayal must stop. We need material resources moved and investments in anti-racist initiatives yesterday. Rather than focusing on the actions of a few individuals right now, I wish to focus on the larger and ongoing problems that are systemic to our community and this campus. We must stop leaning on students to provide consultation and to speak up and sound the alarm on these problems. They are here for degrees. What we are doing is exploitive. They should not be spending time or emotional energy on these calls, educating people in positions of power. It's past time for the administration to take action, not just in words and emails, but in real changes manifested through real money and investment, in acting on the Senate resolution and the concerns students have brought forth this year. There must also be accountability, and all of us, even especially those of us who consider ourselves allies and accomplices, must do more. The problems outlined and the solutions proposed by the Senate and the resolution 4121 are anything but new. If these are new to you, it means you have a lot to learn. Luckily, we're at a university. One of the great things about working at a research institution is that we have access to scholars studying many topics and a library through which you can access many resources. If you do not understand how white supremacy works as a system of power, there are many ways to address your ignorance on this subject. If you consider yourself a scientist, I urge you to check your defensiveness to critiques about whiteness and other forms of dominant power in this country and on this campus, and to learn more. And so I invite those who may not yet understand why we need a Senate resolution such as 4121 to learn more. I teach Introduction to Sociology every spring. We are discussing social stratification during weeks 6 and 9 of the semester, 6 through 9. I'd welcome any of my colleagues, it doesn't matter, community members, other students interested in learning more about how white supremacy continues to operate in our society, and yes, even on our campus at Michigan Tech, to join my classes. If you would like to join, just send me an email. You can find my email on the Tech website. I'm also available on Tuesdays from 1 to 2. I'd be glad to meet with you during my virtual office hours to talk more about these issues we raise here tonight. To think that white supremacy lives elsewhere or that it's in history and not right here in our own community in the present day is wrong. We have so much evidence otherwise that's been shared here tonight. In addition to the vast amount of peer-reviewed literature in social science and history published on the continuance of white supremacy in higher ed, we can look to the racial slurs and Confederate flags of the Trump parade here last fall, the vandalization of Temple Jacob, all of these events. It's right here in our community and we have to do more. I invite you to learn more. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. Marika Siegel.
Hi. Thanks for letting me speak. So I'm Marika Siegel. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Humanities. I'll just speak briefly. I just want to voice my strong support of the resolution 4121 that has been passed. I want to thank the members of the committee for promoting and facilitating equity and understanding, for their eloquent summary of the research and realities surrounding systemic racism and sexism in our campus and in our country. And also to thank them for the emotional labor involved in crafting such a statement, as well as speakers such as Wesley and Claire, who shared their and their communities' lived experiences with racism and sexism on our campus in the face of people who would deny that those realities even exist. And finally, I guess I just want to highlight, and others have, that those who have been both in their letters to our community and in this meeting, the most vocal in denying the realities of racism and sexism are also those who are part of the group who are least affected by it. So I echo Amy's suggestion that they and that we take this opportunity to listen and to educate ourselves where there are serious gaps in our experience and our knowledge. Thanks.
Thank you, Marika. I see Tim.
Hello. My statement is 3 paragraphs. It'll take me approximately 4 minutes to read. Hello, my name is Tim Ward. I am the author of the change.org petition calling for the termination of Dr. Burl. I am a former undergraduate and graduate student from the computer science department. I taught the largest class in the computer science department for 2 years of our most impressionable first semester students. Over those 2 years, countless of my students broke down crying in my office after coming out of the closet to me. I was often the first gay adult they'd ever met. They all had different concerns, but universally, they all shared fear or discomfort with one or more of their professors as a concern with continuing at Michigan Tech. Honestly, I advised most of them to transfer to a university in a bigger city. Dr. Burrell's letter is a hallmark example of why. In fact, somewhere buried in Keweenaw Pride's archives is a very similar handwritten in Sharpie letter from a mechanical engineering professor espousing similarly hateful and damaging nonsense about LGBT people. To Dr. Burrell directly, your letter lacks a basic understanding of the terms you use and makes large logical assumptions that are not true. Poor logic from an engineering professor aside, what really bothers me is the impact you don't seem to care about this having on your students. Whether or not you like it and whether or not your arguments have any merit does not matter. The tone and presentation of your words impart upon the reader a deep sense of ignorance at best or outright prejudice at worst. It is not reasonable to expect students to feel comfortable with you as a professor. I would not have as a student, and believe me, that is saying something. Your Black, brown, LGBT, and other minority students will rightfully be afraid of you. I would not be surprised at all to learn that the anti-LGBT hate crime chalkings of 2004 involved professors. This is exactly why I helped restart and run the Safe Place program when I was at Michigan Tech, to protect students from people like you, and more importantly, those that your words in that letter enable and protect. Put simply, you should resign. You've had a long and mediocre career, and you should resign quickly to spare what little dignity you have left. In your retirement, I would suggest you find new meaning and peace with having been born into privilege instead of thinking it is reverse racism, which factually does not exist. Regarding the university at large, I am ashamed of my alma mater today. The never-ending string of mysteriously departing student life, CDI, and institutional equity staff speaks to a university that does not truly value its own supposed diversity and equity principles beyond that of lip service and appearances. In that light, it does not surprise me that the university president's response was only issued after an entire week of desperately attempting to censor discussion on Facebook, a private email instead of a public statement, issued 0 action items, referenced 10-year-old programs that I helped create as a distraction, and ended with an "I have Black friends as of 3 months ago" justification. Your denouncements and statements and support and private emails are great sentiments with 0 teeth, and history will not remember you kindly for them, nor your cowardice.
I'm sorry, Tim, I'm gonna have to cut you off there.
I have 1 sentence left.
Okay.
Please,
please
motion
finish.
to let him continue.
Yeah. So moved.
From a truly ashamed former Husky, I will mail you my incinerated diploma with which you might keep warm in such a truly cold and heartless place. That is all the energy I have to expend on educating post-secondary educators today.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Nola. Nola, yes.
Well, I'd like to take a moment to thank the president and the women of our wonderful sororities for lending their voices tonight. Thank Tim as well. That said, it's up to us as white individuals to hold other white folk accountable. It is up to men to hold other men responsible for their actions and for their creed. We've talked about education, given that Michigan Tech is an educational institution. I would like to take this moment to point out that the 2 professors in question are diversity certified. These 2 professors have shown that they have no interest in learning about diversity. I grew up in Houghton. I know how racist, sexist, and bigoted in general the community is. The locals who got up on here tonight are proof positive, and it's unfortunate how little they realized this. I live in Minneapolis now. I watched the painful events this summer surrounding George Floyd. I myself am a non-binary individual. Had I still been living in Upper Michigan, I never would have been able to come out. This kind of a environment is painful. It's painful for students going up there. It's painful for those who wish they could attend Michigan Tech, but do not in fear for their safety. I call upon the university senate and upon the university in general to hold their professor accountable. Accountability is the word we're looking for. The faculty handbook 3.1.2 and 3.1.2.1 say that faculty is not to be tolerated in the faculty being discriminatory is not to be tolerated. I would like to see this upheld. The university needs to immediately take punitive action against these two professors as per their code of conduct in their faculty handbook. Thank you, and that's all I have.
Kinola. Excuse me. Haroon.
Hello, my name is Haroon. I graduated Michigan Tech in 2019 with a degree in electrical engineering, and I'm working in the automotive industry right now. I've talked to a lot of students, I've talked to a lot of alumni, and I've talked to a lot of my professional coworkers about what is going on here. And I told them verbatim exactly the letters that Burl and the other professor wrote. I don't remember his name. And they've all echoed the same sentiments, that if a professor who's already taken diversity training says that his professional opinion is that he has been discriminated against as a white man, he's already admitting that he cannot professionally look at a student of color like myself and say, he cannot be trusted to look at a student like me and not think you are depriving a white male student and therefore act and discriminate against me. Professionally speaking, he has already said that he cannot be trusted to do anything, to truly treat his students equally. And thank God I never had Burl as a professor, despite the fact that I'm an electrical engineer, because that could have happened to me. My academic success could have been compromised. My future could have been compromised. I'm hearing a lot from the university in terms of resolutions and emails, but I've yet to see any action, and that has gone noticed between my alumni have noticed and my professional coworkers have noticed. And they've all agreed action needs to be taken, not just statements, not just diversity trainings that are, that professors have shown that they will just ignore when they take them, but real action has to be taken. At this point, it's fallen on the students enough, okay? We should not have to be doing the action to make our campus safer. This is a university problem. At this point, as an alumni, all I can do is try to make it known exactly what's going into the university. And at this point, try to tell my mother, the pediatrician, if she knows students who are interested in going to Michigan Tech, tell them not to, because the university will not protect you if you're facing discrimination or fearing discrimination. And your future will be compromised because of that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Haroon. Eric, I see you have your hand up.
Sam, we're past the 45-minute time frame that we had talked about. I don't know if you want to keep going for a little while.
I moved to time officially between 15 and 20 minutes minimum.
I will accept a motion to add an additional 20 minutes.
I second that.
Okay. All those in favor of extending for 20 minutes, please say aye.
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 Aye. All those against, please say nay. Abstentions? Okay, we'll extend the period for another 20 minutes. Thank you all. Eric, I see you have your hand up, but as you've spoken before, I want to make sure that I get to people who haven't yet. So I'm going to go ahead and call on Joe Lucavoli.
All right. Thank you very much for the time. So this is going to be a little difficult for me because this is going to be very personal. In my early 20s, I was sexually assaulted. As a result of that assault, I went through a period of iterative drug use. And in that experience, I understand and I know the darkest parts of human nature. It wasn't until I met my my long-term boyfriend of 5 years. Unfortunately, we're not together, but he was a Black male. And so I understand from personal experience the amount of hatred that can be lobbed at people of color. Since I myself have been called an N-word lover by a bunch of idiots on a big pickup truck, likely with a Confederate flag on it. So I understand the amount of hurt and the impulse to judge everyone based on the worst amongst them. My earnest and deepest hope is that in addressing the issues that have come up, that we as a university community do not make that mistake and assume motivations in those and allow them to actually explain themselves. And I agree with Amy's initial comment in the chat that discourse has not been served well by either of the letters. And I believe in my heart that we as a university can come together and understand the different viewpoints that will persist no matter what type of training people undergo. It's honest and open discourse that is in fact the solution to this. And I would urge not only statements, but action. Again, we need a call to action and we need open discourse related to that action. We can't continue on this pathway of releasing statements, retreating into our echo chambers, and then getting pissed off at one another. Sorry for the vulgar language there. So I guess to finish up, I would just like to say that I am willing and able to offer my experiences and in a genuine will to help out with what's going on. And we'll be in contact with the powers that be. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Nancy Langston.
Hi, my name is Nancy Langston. I'm a faculty member in social sciences and affiliate in the College of Forest Resources and Environmental Sciences and part of the Great Lakes Research Center. I've been here for 8 years as a professor, and before that I was at UW-Madison for 18 years as a professor in Department of Forest Ecology and Management, where I was the first woman faculty member and the only woman faculty member in the department. And during my time there, I came to better understand how much implicit bias continues to shape people's actions, even when they have the best of intentions and are really unaware of that bias. But more importantly, I came to better understand how effective real diversity efforts can be and how much they do increase equitable opportunities for all. So I want to offer my gratitude and support to the Senate and the committee's efforts to make tech welcoming for diverse students, staff, and faculty. And as Claire, Tim, Joe, Haroon, Wesley, and the other students and alums' powerful statements tonight make clear, we still have a lot of work to do. And these are really difficult conversations, but they're essential for our mission as a university and for our larger community. And I hope we can work together to accomplish this. So thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Tamara.
Then I think Eric and Randy should, in that order.
Well, I'd like to give the opportunity to people who haven't spoken yet.
Yeah, we want to make sure that everybody gets one chance to speak.
No, that's fine. I was just, it didn't move up. That's fine.
Yeah. So Tamara, please. I believe you're muted.
Oh, hey, look, sorry, I missed the unmute button.
Thank you.
Is my
I'm sorry?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm a local female. I got my master's from MSU and I chose Houghton on purpose because I have 3 kids and I'm planning on encouraging them to attend MSU, or MTU, I'm sorry. If your university becomes known as a place that values students' minority, race, or gender over academic strength, I think that will cause long-term harm to your reputation as a great college. The university currently is ranked quite high, and you draw students from all over the country and all over the world. Your students, both international and national, chose this college because they wish to succeed in their world. If you cannot attract the brightest, regardless of their gender or race, or if you turn them away because they're too white or too male, not only is that racist, but an unwise policy decision. I think it's insulting to say that people who are not white and males are less bright, but that's what you're saying if you prioritize people of race, people who are of different race, minority race, or who are female. You can say the same things with regards to faculty and school staffing. Hire the best, hire people who have a record of treating people equal regardless of race and gender. Past does not control your future. If you look backwards instead of forwards, how can you expect to succeed in today's world? Instead of being reactive, be proactive. If problems exist, then individual problems need to be addressed. Absolutely. Actual issues should be looked into and people responsible should be handled in the manner prescribed. Feeling unsafe is not the same as being unsafe. Blanket responses that are racist in any direction create even more racism on both sides, and that makes me very sad. I'm very disappointed that such broad brushes are being used to try to solve problems. Racism in any form is bad. I'm very concerned that through reading the comments and emails that appeared at the prior meeting, I think that every person has equal rights. If you're going to start setting quotas or prioritizing certain races or genders, you need to understand that that is racism. You're creating systematic racism by definition. It's also, that's the end of what I had planned on saying. I have a couple of comments if I still have time. There are some employment statistics quoted earlier that were used to say, look, this is racist or sexist. People make individual choices. I think that while there should always be equal opportunities, I think they're always going to find disparity. Disparity does not mean racism or sexism. There's probably always going to be more male lineman workers and probably more females who choose to go into nursing or costuming for Hollywood and stuff like that. I like the idea proposed about open discourse, and as Joe said, not getting lost in our echo chambers. Being able to speak freely and actually listening to other people's opinions is very important. There's somebody who commented about feeling unsafe in our community. Houghton is a very safe town. Through the quickest look online, I found an article that was in College Magazine, ranked Michigan Technological University as the safest college campus in the nation. This is from 2017. It's out there. If you just Google it, it was easy to find.
Okay.
It feels safe here. I don't know how you're going to feel safe anyplace.
Okay, thank you, Tamara. Mufazzal Hossain.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, so my name is Mufazzal Hussain. I graduated in 2017 with my Master of Science in Civil Engineering, and I was a representative of the Civil Engineering Department to GSD. And I'm from New York. I just want to share a small story of mine. I came to this country with my parents in 1993, and my dad worked really hard. And things were looking up until 2001, after the 9/11 attack. And my family decided to move back because they did not want me to go to a school where I opened my locker and see Osama bin Laden's picture. When I came back in 2015, I came back to Michigan Tech. I started my master's degree there. And the 2016 election happened. And that was a changing moment in my life, in my siblings' life, because I saw what my dad feared. I saw my sister getting harassed, her hijab taken off the train. I still know of my brother getting harassed in Boston College, one of the highest institutes of education in this country. And to say that white supremacy does not exist, that racism is something that we should not look into because it's something that happened in the past is absurd. 300 years of slavery is defining the lives of the members of the Black community. Here in Southeast Queens, when Ed Koch became the mayor, he took away opportunities from Southeast Queens, from Harlem. He took down hospitals, and the Black community had no opportunities, and they had to resort to drug dealing. When you talk about black on black crime, you're validating racism. Black on black crime, first of all, is lower than the amount of white supremacists killing the Black community. It's far lower than that. It's disgusting that that kind of rhetoric is always brought up. My people, the South, whether you want to, I'm a South Asian, so my people, the Latinos, the Black communities, we get killed and harassed for jogging, like Ahmad Arbrari. We get killed when we are asleep in our own homes, like Breonna Taylor. We get killed and harassed for buying a pack of cigarettes, probably at 7-Eleven or some other shop. And we don't even have we don't even get to explain ourselves. While professors like Dr. Burrell can send out racist sentiments and he gets to apologize on this forum. That right there is his white privilege. That right there is everybody's white privilege on this forum. You get to apologize and get away with it. Why does my right, or my Black brother and sister's right, my Latino brother and sister's right to breathe have to depend on your I'm heated, I'm sorry, on your comfortability in a stolen land of Native Americans? That, I'll just rest my case with this. Just try to understand, look into the past, because the past will define our futures, whether you want to look into it or not, or your ignorance will. Thank you.
Thank you, Mufassal. Aaron.
I think Anne you were doing the switch between panelists and
Yeah. Okay. I'll get in next. Aaron.
Apologize.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. My name is Erin Ritchie. I'm a two-time graduate of Michigan Tech. I got both my master's degree and undergraduate there. I am an engineer. I am white, and I support the Senate's proposal 4121, and I want to thank you all for bringing this issue into light. Because if you had not spoken up against racism on whatever level it exists at Michigan Tech currently today, then we would not be having these conversations, and there would not be so many wonderful people on this call moving to end those actions. In response to some of the other comments that I've heard tonight from some other white people, I urge you to just pause for a second and step outside of your experiences and yourself. We're not saying, the Senate is not saying with this proposal that they're trying to take anything away from you. What they are saying is that for a long time, a certain group of people have held all the cards. They have had more privilege than other people because of the way the world previously worked. And that because the world is changing, we can't allow that to continue. No one is trying to take away your opportunity. No one is trying to say that merit shouldn't be a part of these decisions. But what we are saying is there is a disproportionate amount of people at Michigan Tech who are white and male. And that's not because women and Black people and BIPOC and you name it don't want to have these opportunities. It's because historically we've been unwelcome. So to others on this call who have perhaps suggested that because you're a woman, you would rather be a nurse or something, and that's just your natural ability as a woman with 2 degrees in STEM, I strongly disagree. My final comments are that I'm proud to have started open conversation with NSBE and CIS on how we can perhaps start a scholarship fund to support students who may have been made to feel unwelcome by Burroughs and this other clown professor's letter. If you are interested in donating, I hope in the minutes they will list my email. It's enrichie@mtu.edu. And I think one way we can all fight this injustice and this ridiculous action that has taken place in broad daylight is to support the minorities and the future of Michigan Tech. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Anne and Bethel.
Thank you. I want to add my voice to the chorus of those seeking to unequivocally affirm the need for an inclusive campus environment. And I hope that students and faculty and staff who experience the denial of injustice as a form of abuse can be assured many of us on campus are devoting our days to creation of a more even playing field for all people. And part of how we do this is by owning up to our painful histories. Patterns accumulate over time. As we know, they travel across generations and into our day-to-day lives. What are being called histories by some are not histories at all, as we've heard from many of the brave speakers this evening. They're just not histories, they're events in our everyday present. So to those of you who have spoken and those who are suffering in response to the letters under discussion this evening, or their reverberations throughout our campus community, and I will say, despite my own white privilege, I'm one of those people who has felt her own trauma activated. I send you my wishes and best efforts for a sense of safety. I also affirm my commitment to creating spaces in my classroom where everyone is respected and honors the humanity of every other class member. We all deserve to flourish. As a University Senate, I'll continue to work to influence policies providing more equal access to resources and greater understanding of diverse points of view. I'll work to create policies informed by the experiences of those who are vulnerable. And I thank everyone who has shared their experiences of vulnerability. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Francis.
Hi, I just wanted to share a experience, not my experience, but a previous experience I had while as a student catering worker back when I was still a student. So I was working this breakfast event for the women faculty at Tech. Pretty much they came to the breakfast and what was meant to be just discussing some things, some improvements that they would like to see for the women faculty at Tech. It turned into pretty much like a, what do you call it, like a error, like, I don't know, but they, at the end, they just sounded very angry at how Tech treats them. Like they were complaining about how there aren't enough bathrooms or women bathrooms compared to like the men bathrooms. One professor, she had been at Tech for a long time and she had brought up like in the past that there were buildings where the women had to go to a separate, all the way to like a separate floor or even maybe a separate building just to go use their bathroom. And she said that that was very insulting to her as a woman professor at Tech. They also complained about how since they were either they were the only woman or like one of the few women in their department, how they would be put down academically by their male colleagues. And it just, I could tell that they were very angry and upset at Tech, and they felt as if they had gotten overlooked for a really long time. And from working that event, I got like secondhand anger from them. And I just wanted to make it known that like women, I guess the women professors at Tech, they want equality and they want to be treated equally. And I guess they also want to know they have like, you know, like the same, I guess, resources as like their male colleagues. Like, for example, like having enough bathroom stalls. That was one of their complaints that I remember from that event. So just wanted to share that experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. Myra Sanchez-Morgan. Myra, are you with us? Not hearing you at the moment. Sounds like you might be tapping your mic. Why don't I call on Alexa Thompson and Myra will come back to you after that to see if you're available. Alexa? I think you're muted. Okay, let's try Sarah and
wait.
Angela. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's
Yes,
Alexa.
Alexa. Yes, thank you.
Sorry about that. Hello, everyone. My name is Alexa Thompson. I'm a queer, female-presenting Black alumni of the university with a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. That involved having Jeffrey Burrell as a professor. And I have to say, this is depressing. That in the year of our Lord 2021, we have people in positions of power at MTU without a basic understanding of the words racism, sexism, and prejudice, who are apparently certified in diversity literacy. Please rescind that certification, as it's clear that it never sunk in and or a refresher is needed. It is wrong to demand to be spoon-fed basic facts over and over again in a way that coddles the receiver who causes harm with no remorse. And with everything going on, I would just like to thank the people who day in and day out try to create a space where these folks that we recruit to the university can feel welcome, where they can thrive. And there's an article written by Jonathan Capehart at the Washington Post that I'd like to read an excerpt of. It follows. Now that we are engaged in yet another conversation on race, I might recommend Robin DiAngelo's book, White Fragility, Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism. But if you are white, I implore you to read it. When you are Black in America, your knowledge of white people in America and of the intricacies, contradictions, and double standards of racism and of white supremacy can only be described as intimate. As a result, as movie director Casey Lemons wrote in the Post on Monday, African Americans know whites very well. We've had to. We had no choice. We had to know you to survive you. And I have been wild about DiAngelo's book since I read it last year, because the associate professor of education at the University of Washington at Seattle is a white woman writing unflinchingly to white people about race. DiAngelo forces white people to see and understand how white supremacy permeates their lives and to recognize how they perpetuate it. More importantly, she shows them what they can do to change themselves and dismantle the system. DiAngelo also demolishes the ready-made excuses and defenses that white people use to absolve themselves of any responsibility when confronted with racism. It's like a script. It's so predictable that white people are going to say and do when the topic of race comes up. And DiAngelo told me in this interview, K-pop, she argues that white Americans view racism as an individual moral failing instead of the waste product of a system that prioritizes white people and whose levers are consciously and unconsciously manipulated by them. I don't know that you could have come up with a formula more effective to protect the system of racism than reduce it to this very simple formula, that a racist is an individual who consciously doesn't like people based on race. Apparently, it has to be conscious or it doesn't count.
Alexa, your time is up. Can you wrap it up?
I'd like to request 1 minute if possible.
Yes,
I'd second that.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Thank you. That definition only exempts virtually all white people from the system we're in, but I think it's the root of virtually all white defensiveness. Because if that's what I think it means to be racist, and you suggest I've just said or done something racist, I'm going to hear you saying that I'm a bad person. And that's going to land as a question of my very moral character. And now I'm going to need to defend my moral character. So how will I defend it? Insist that I'm not racist. I cannot be racist. And I'm going to give you ridiculous evidence. I had a Black roommate in college. I speak several languages. My goodness, I've been to Costa Rica. Yeah, I laughed about that one too. DiAngelo told me she didn't say that everyone is racist. She just says that everyone is biased, which is true, and not all biases are equal. When you back my group's bias with that kind of power, it is just so profoundly different in its impact. and anti-Blackness is a major factor. The closer you are to Blackness, the more profound will be the oppression. This is a system, and your smiling doesn't interrupt it. Your niceness doesn't interrupt it. You going on lunch on occasion with a coworker of color doesn't interrupt the system. The only thing that interrupts it is strategic, intentional action. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alexa. Myra, are you with us now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Well, my name is Myra. I graduated from a PhD at the Social Science Department, and I currently work as a staff at Michigan Tech. I have been in the area for 8 years. And you know what? I'm glad some of you feel safe here. Really, I'm glad. That's your experience. I'm not gonna question it, but you are gonna question our experience as well. I wanna ask all of you how many times your neighbor, your professors, other students, and other people have yelled at you, come back where you came from. 1, twice, they have yelled that to me and not once. How many times your professor or the dean or whoever is power over you have yelled at you, or just laugh at your face saying, we should build that wall, right? And you feel so powerless that you don't say anything because you know it's pointless, because you just want to grab it and get out of here. My friend was in that position. How many times your car has been vandalized because you have a black skin? How many times you have been harassed because you're riding a bike just because your skin color? Does that will make you feel safe? No, right? So I'm glad that some of you feel safe, but don't come here to question how we feel and our experiences, because we live that in this community. I don't know who are your friends who have done experience that. Maybe you need new friends. Maybe you need to meet more people. Maybe you truly need to start engaging in diversity that you are claiming that is real here when it's not, right? So if you can genuinely answer that question and tell me how many times or how many of your close friends have been in that position when you're supposed to feel safe in your home, in your school, in your work. I bet you, and you know why? Because you have a privilege. Because your white skin is a privilege that we do not have. And you know what is happening? That when you feel that privilege threatened, because we start speaking up, because we start saying this out loud, something that we constantly live, and we're exhausted about it. And you feel your power and your privilege threatened, and you're saying, oh no, I'm discriminated too. Really? Show me how that looks that for you. I support any effort to promote diversity and inclusion, because it's about time. It's about time that you don't only say, thank you for sharing this. Thank you for this. I'm sorry about this. We're done with your sorries. What are you going to do? Because it is systematic. If you have not experienced that, why is that? Because you have a privilege. And the same way that for me, that discrimination, sexism, racism is real, your privilege is also real. And things are not going to change if you don't start by acknowledging that. So thank you.
Thank you, Myra. Paige Short.
Thanks, Sam. First, I just want to take a second to say thank you, Myra. I want to recognize Myra for that statement. Thank you for sharing that. It was really powerful. So I'm coming to you tonight as the staff senator representing University Relations and Enrollment, also as a UPER and an alum of Michigan Tech. A couple points on which we all need to be aware. Prospective students are watching us. As the senator of the unit tasked with recruitment, I'm telling you we all need to be aware of the effect of our actions. And I mean both us as Michigan Tech and us as the community, because I'm from both. We exist commingled. Our jobs and our livelihoods will suffer, if students stop coming here. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Paige. Sarah and Angela.
Yeah, hi, I'm Angela. I am taking a break this semester, but I'd like to share a couple of words. First of all, I'd like to thank Maida, and just say that it sucks to see your role models and mentors being attacked. So I appreciate her bravery to speaking out. I want to say that I'm not a quota. My Black and Indigenous siblings are not a quota. I'm a testament to the hard work that my parents have come to this country and settled in Detroit, Anishinaabe, Waukee, and Potawatomi lands, and sacrificed so much for me to be in this position. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. And I feel horrible that tech recruits our communities, but does not support us. It uses us as diversity shots, and it's disgusting. And I'm tired of hearing white people claim that they do not see racism. And of course they don't see racism because they cannot experience racism. How is it systemic racism against white people when they can make the vast majority of this campus, students and faculty and staff? This is ridiculous. As a first-gen Latina woman, I'm exhausted. This is traumatic, and it is taxing being a student here. The thought of tech recruiting my community and just using us and exploiting our bodies and minds for the sake of diversity shots disgusts me. I've sat in so many classes where my classmates have expressed homophobic and transphobic, racist, sexist ideas, and unfortunately it has fallen on me to go through that emotional labor to educate ignorance and address these issues from students and, yes, even faculty and staff. It has been extremely taxing to focus on my studies while I have to debate my existence and my validity on this campus, and it is time to make institutional change, and students have already brought up a bunch of tangible things to work on, and they have been ignored. And like Maida said, I'm done with your sorries, and thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Angela. Carlos.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. I need to move that we go to 8:05 because I think this is going to go. No, nobody wants. It's a long night, but
yeah, we can do more at our next meeting as well.
Okay. I mean,
I second the motion. Let's go to 8.
I also second.
Okay.
Or 8:05.
Thank you.
Okay, so yes, I guess all those in favor of extending the meeting to 8:05, please say aye.
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 All those against say nay. Abstentions. Thank you very much. Extend to 8:05. So Carlos, please.
Yes. Okay. I'd like to thank everyone who spoke from their incredible strength and struggle with racism, phobia, transphobia, homophobia, fat phobia, all of the different oppressive logics that we deal with on a daily basis. I received a very reasoned letter. Let me take a step back. A letter that took serious attention and effort to produce concerning what my role in this as part of some sort of devious Marxist agenda, and Kelly Raffaelli's role. And while I think, one of our participants, Mr. Killinan, was gracious enough to forward it to us and begin an opportunity, which I'll sideline later, for dialogue and debate. But I don't think we need to, as a scholar of political violence, who has published on both conservative theory, some liberal theory, and Marxist theory, I have the privilege of studying and dealing with students of all backgrounds. And I have the privilege of listening to them, and my hope, and I believe my actions, have shown that students of all stripes, under respectful conditions and conditions where their interlocutor is treated as not just human, but what I say more than human, as an individual that you want to appeal to, that any student of any political stripe is free in my class. But what I'm not able to do as a scholar is deny what I see as both factual and historical reality. I've been in this community now this is my 7th year. My first year in this community, when I was in Walmart with my son, who is not yet 2 months old, I was called an epithet that is used against Muslims and Arabs. I have been speaking in Spanish in the car with my grandmother, who is 90, and had people from the community who I then see later. I have a very good memory for faces. Come and tell me I'm an undocumented immigrant, as if that was some sort of moment to be ashamed of, considering that the documentation and the politics of immigration aren't even consistent in our history, a fact that many immigration hardliners fail to understand historically. I have been the subject of racism myself by administrators. Now, whether it was microaggression or intentional, I don't care. I chose not to say anything about it because I think there are deeper issues. And the issue for me is that we commit as a university to continue to use knowledge, use research, use our power to improve the world. And in the United States and in the Western Hemisphere, which, yes, was founded by systematic racism, which, yes, in the kind of cynical deployment that people use of Black slavers in the Dahomey region, doesn't talk about that it was a hunger for Black slaves motivated by settler colonialism. We need to know and educate ourselves about all of these things. There is no American exceptionalism that can be born from deceit or from a lie. The most powerful thing we can do, if this is really, as some of the letters and some of the conflicts have talked about with respect to affirmative action, this idea, this blatantly false idea that African Americans, Blacks, Latinos, women of color have benefited, denies the very fact that affirmative action was a historical project to discuss how whites were being systematically oppressed by other whites, and it has been turned. See, I don't have an option to find myself. I moved to, can I have 40 more seconds?
Yes.
A second.
60 seconds.
Yes.
I don't have an option to not talk about that. I don't have an option in my classroom to not talk about the brutal violence of the Shining Path against Indigenous people, the Shining Path Maoist guerrillas. I don't have an option as a scholar, as someone who believes in scholarship, to not talk about the more than 40,000 victims of US-supported fascist violence in South America. I'm a Latin American scholar who understands deeply political violence. And what we did in this proposal was to try to address an epidemic. There are good members of the community, obviously. We all know that bad apple logic. But we would be remiss as a university to not use everything we could, especially when we believe our university is an incredible brand, an incredible opportunity, and our community is safe in some ways and deeply dangerous or other. We have a commitment that we have to take seriously. And that's what this proposal is about. That's what challenging some of the erroneous statements in Dr. Burrell's letter is about. That's what a reasoned discussion on agenda and so-called socialist agendas will happen as the conversation develops with people in the community. But we don't have an option to blind ourselves to the very material struggles that make our lives impossible or difficult on a daily basis. Everyone who spoke here from a position of racist, homophobic, class suffering, all of us have the opportunity here at the university to engage in learning and creating a world. That's why we do policies like this, to create a new world that is better for citizens, better for everyone who comes to this country, safe and hungry, immigrants, African Americans, anyone who is poor and vulnerable. That is what the mandate and the remit of this nation is.
Yeah.
And
Thank
we
you,
are
Carlos.
obligated as an MT. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Josh.
Hey, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So I am a recent tech graduate. I'm currently in Detroit right now. But to start, I wanted to say there are definitely racist people that exist. I'm not condoning racism in any way, shape, or form. Since we've been sharing anecdotes, I haven't experienced any racism on campus. I think it's a vast minority. That's not saying it doesn't exist. But anyway, regarding the study that was cited earlier in the meeting, I think the statistic was that only 5% of engineering students were Black. I'm not sure if that's in general or just at Tech. But I wanted to say that it's very important to remember that diversity is affected by interest levels. And I think if we push students who have little or no personal interest into an engineering degree, I think it's doing a disservice to them. I don't think just diversity for diversity's sake seems very tech forward. Regarding the parade and the Senate's response to that, first of all, I just wanted to bring attention that Michigan Tech is a public university and constitutionally has no right to censor free speech. The ACLU has a great article on that. I would encourage everybody to read it. Unfortunately, I can't post it in the chat. It's disabled for me, which is unfortunate. But if you just search for ACLU free speech on campus, you'll find it. And the article basically explains in simple terms that free speech cannot legally be censored on the campus of a public university. Even if it's hate speech. I know hate speech is not a great thing, but it is still constitutionally protected. It is still free speech. And also about the presentation at the last meeting regarding this proposal, I was kind of disappointed how it was so one-sided. I did not see really anything from the side of people taking part in the parade. I've heard there's a longer report that includes more of both sides, and I would challenge the Senate to share that report publicly, the full report. I wanted to express my support for Dr. Burrell. If you're still listening, Dr. Burrell, thank you for expressing your opinion. There are many students who I know personally who agree with that letter, either in whole or in part, but they're afraid to speak up as they feel conservative voices are constantly silenced on campus. Unfortunately, I don't think I can share my screen, but there in that full report, I think there are images from the other side, and there were definitely threats of violence that were made by students and counter protesters as well. So it's not a one-sided issue as it was presented 2 weeks ago. And then, since I still have a little bit more time, on a somewhat unrelated note, there were several comments made earlier about how we should target money and scholarships. I think one person said for graduate students, but just in general, it sounds a lot like affirmative action to me, which is very clearly racist. We're treating people better or worse solely based on their skin color, giving them more money or for scholarships or admissions or whatever. That's not legal under Michigan law. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you, Josh. Alex Tabo.
Hello.
Yes.
Well, as you can hear, my gender is female. I am a transfer student here. I have been going by the name of Alex to be less discriminated against on resumes and applications to different areas. I have been denied because when they found out I was a female, they told me to leave. Because it still exists. And just because you don't see it doesn't mean it doesn't. And free speech does not mean freedom from consequences. Everybody gets a side, and if you think you can just say whatever you want without getting the other side, doesn't mean anything to any of us. Being a transfer student, I came up here hoping it was better. And now I see the professors are just as bad because no one actually cares about the students. They just care about that paycheck. And every person on the Senate listening, I hope you understand that we feel like we're just paying your paychecks right now. The students are upset. People are hurt by this. And you act like you don't care. But when a person tells you that you hurt them, you don't get to decide that you didn't. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Alex. Ezra Cotter.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't want to take too much time to take away from the very moving testimony we've heard tonight, but I would like to talk a little bit as a straight white male student at Michigan Tech and say that I publicly denounce the letters written and that I support the proposal made by the Senate. But I would also like to encourage and remind my fellow white straight male students and faculty and staff members that this is partially our fault. That it's our responsibility to utilize the privilege that we have to inform and to educate and challenge other members of our community and to try to lead them and expose different perspectives and to educate to the best of our ability. This isn't trying to brush aside the letter and the really truly racist and awful things that we've heard. And I'm not trying to defend that and suggest that we should just give it another chance. But I would like to say that it's all of our fault as a community. We have to work together to challenge each other and to educate. And I'd like to reinforce Dr. Carter's stance about education and about exploring different perspectives and understanding that everyone does not have the same perspective and the same experiences. I think a great analogy is talking about starting locations. We talk a lot about where people end up and how many people end up employed at a university or end up as a student, but thinking about starting locations and the difficulties and strife people encounter to get there are very different. The hardships that I've had to come to this school are very little, coming from a white household, middle class. I have very little difficulty and understanding the difficulties and things that people had to overcome to get here is very important. And I'd like to thank you all for listening to my brief statement.
Thank you, Ezra. Okay, so I'm seeing 4 people who haven't spoken yet. So I'm going to say that we'll recognize Desiree, Mia, Julia, and Stephanie. And I think that's maybe the point to stop this particular conversation for this night. So I'm going to go ahead and sort of freeze it at that point. I'm going to recognize, well, the names are changing a little bit. Mia, please. Mia Cochran.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I'm not going to take up too much time either. I graduated in December of 2019. I am a white female student who graduated here with a degree in civil engineering. All I want to do is thank all of the BIPOC students who have spoken up tonight. I know for a fact that these conversations can be exhausting. And they are especially so, I'm sure, to you guys who have to do it over and over and over again. So thank you so much to everyone who has spoken up tonight with how difficult that is. And I also want to say that myself and many other alumni friends of mine have discussed the resolution and the open letter, and we do not support Burl. So again, thank you so much for speaking up tonight, all of the BIPOC students, and we need to be better. And I hope after tonight we can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mia. Julia Peterson.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm a student in the Environmental and Energy Policy doctoral program, new to the university and to the Houghton area. My family and I moved here in August 2020, selecting this location for many, many reasons after living in many, many places around our country because we were a military family. And one of the reasons we chose this place is because of the proximity to Michigan Technological University and the subsequent benefits of a world-class academic institution in our local community. As such, I was incredibly proud to read Senate Resolution 4121. This resolution is powerful in its perspective and in its resolve, and I fully support its spirit and intent. I was relieved to see an active and assertive stand on these issues, especially since the university's demographics are abysmally unrepresentative. Undergraduate students in 2018 were 81.1% white and 72.6% male. And among the small underrepresented minority student population, only 42.7% graduated. These numbers speak 1,000 words in and of themselves about systemic racism in our country, our state, our region, and our university, and are not evidence of lack of interest or lack of desire or inability or work ethic. They represent systemic racism. Anyone who argues otherwise is merely afraid to recognize the truth, internalize its meaning for them, and take action on it. It is at least some comfort to me that the university Senate members are unafraid to do so. I was less proud of my university when I read the letters of 2 MTU professors opposing this resolution. In my perspective and experience, engineers are systemic thinkers. It's clear from the letters written that neither individual approaches the realities of hate speech, white supremacy, and ethnically and racially motivated intolerance from a systemic perspective one would expect of an academic and a professional. Rather, each approached from a personal, anecdotal, and biased perspective. Together, their letters combine the collective qualitative accounts of many, many students, including the many students tonight, and community members of color, and the quantitative truth of deep demographic disparities, and subject both to their worldview. This reductive approach is the embodiment of white supremacy. I expect more from the academic professionals at my university. My experiences with this institution thus far give me hope that these two perspectives are outliers among the faculty, as the professors I have encountered demonstrate a growth mindset, a willingness to hear, support, and promote diverse perspectives, and a commitment to speaking up against systemic and overt racism. My experiences and the broader Michigan Tech and Houghton communities give me hope as well, but I would be naive to think that the myopic, self-focused perspectives offered in these two letters are unshared by others. Accounts of people of color and women combined with the unequivocal story that data tells show us that these perspectives are all too commonplace and continue to distract from and prevent systemic improvement. I just request 30 more seconds.
Okay, 30 more seconds, yes.
I encourage and support the Senate in a single response to this opposition, a single response, and then I'm moving on to avoid giving audience to the drumbeat of these tired, unperceptive, and self-focused perspectives. There's too much work to be done in our university community, and we have to start now. I look forward to many more years at Michigan Tech, watching it unfold, cheering it along, participating whenever possible, and witnessing true, meaningful, and objective change. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Julia. So I'm going to recognize Jenna, Byron, and then Stephanie. Those are our last two speakers. Thank you. Jenna?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name's Jenna Byron, and I'm a computer science student here at Michigan Tech. I would just like to start off by saying thank you to Claire, Jennifer, Myra, Angela, and Wesley, and many others for your powerful statements tonight, which just scratch the surface of your experiences of minorities in this community. Jeffrey Burrell, you said no one has tried to explain to you why you are wrong. I hope you listened to their words tonight and internalized them. They told you why you are wrong, and white men on this campus are not discriminated against. To any minority on campus, I'm so sorry we pay to be instructed by faculty with this mindset who refuse to listen and sympathize to these shared lived experiences. Harun and Alexa, you are both correct. Burrell does not care about diversity training he is given. It is obviously not adequate for him, and his bias clouds his ability to educate himself, and he should not be certified in any diversity training at his current standing. I'm sorry to students that we are in a community where community members find even something like the LGBTQIA flag offensive and compare it to the hateful Confederate flag. I'm proud of all of our statements. Thank you to Angie for highlighting how this is not what we as students should have to be worried about, and I hope we see some sort of change from the leadership here at Tech. Thank you to the Senate for all your work on Proposal 4121.
Thank you, Jenna. Stephanie?
Simply put, I'm exhausted. As a staff member who's multiply marginalized, I am so tired. I truly appreciate all the sentiments of support, the powerful testimonials, and I would like to extend my deepest thanks to my fellow committee members and my fellow senators for their support. I would urge those who do not see racism to simply look again. I have spent weeks working to undo the harm from these bigoted letters, and I am tired. A harm that has come to me, but truly, most importantly, harm to our students, the students I am here to serve. The last 2 weeks, I have pivoted from doing my normal tasks to making space for student leaders to cry and to process and to restructure their organizations to support their own communities. These bigoted acts, and all those before, are exhausting. And as Myra and Angela said, no more. Thank you for allowing me to speak, to close out the comments, and to serve as your staff senator at large. I look forward to many years of serving Michigan Tech and making our community better. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. So I just want to thank everybody who spoke tonight for sharing, for your honesty, for your bravery. I especially want to thank those of you who have offered to reach out and to continue this conversation. And I encourage all of us to do that in whatever ways we can, to engage with other people, to engage with other perspectives, to learn about others, and to move past our own perspectives and experiences. I hope that this is just the beginning of a broader conversation, not only across our campus. I hope to see town halls, forums, and other kinds of events that allow us to continue these conversations in spaces where we can engage more in debate and discussion. And I certainly hope that that extends to the community and that we can find those common spaces and those common places. So with that, I'll ask for somebody to please move to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you very much. We are adjourned. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Community, please, for everyone who came. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.